Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. So now we're going to talk about Bledisloe Cup 2. I did a show on Monday where I was quite critical of the Australian performance over the weekend. I felt they were very, very unfit, and there was a lot of issues on their side, and I felt like their attack wasn't that great. And I've made a huge big prediction on my Super Brew for that. I've just have a feeling that the All Blacks are going to win by 30 points, and it's not an indication of my what I feel for the Australian players. It's just where they are at the moment, and the skills that they're bringing to the field, and it's actually not even their skills. I just think there's just something completely wrong. I watched such an interesting show where they were showing the attack patterns of both sides, and it's how like some of the attack patterns of Australia are very, very similar to the attack patterns of New Zealand. It's just New Zealand seem to pull them off, and Australia don't. With Israel Folau being injured, there is no other player of that kind of caliber that could take over that kind of position. I know there's been a lot of talk about moving players around. On the New Zealand side, obviously we've got Ricky Ioane's injured, and Ryan Crotty's injured, so that's a huge big loss, but they obviously have the depth to be able to bring into the team. So if I look at Ryan Crotty, I'm sure they'll start with Anton Leonard-Brown this week, and I don't think they'll change the team that much, because I think they really want to win the cup, and I don't think they'll change any of their forwards. But for Anton Leonard-Brown, for Ryan Crotty, then I'd probably bring Lamape onto the bench. I'm not sure. I'm not really 100% sure who they'd bring in, with Sonny Bill Williams injured. So the only thing I can think of is it's Lamape. Then going out for Ricky Ioane. Now they could obviously do some reshuffling and move Ben Smith out to the wing. I prefer Ben Smith at fullback. It's just personally I feel that's his better position. He has a much better opportunity to run those lines. But at moving out to the wing, they could bring in Jody Barrett or Damien McKenzie. So that's also an idea. But then I've also been doing a lot of reading about them bringing in Neeman Skudder on the one wing. I've always rated him as a player. I know he's had a few issues with form this last season, but he knows how to play at that kind of level. So, and he is a completely different winger to the big Ricky Ioane and Wasaki Naholo. So yeah, there's a lot of jiggling that they can do at the back there, but the Australians just have that depth. Whereas I look at the Australian side, the New Zealanders just have that depth, and if I look at the Australian side, they just don't have that same kind of depth, or the depth of the bench to be able to replace Israel Folau. I'm not sure if they're going to move Beale back down to 15. I know that he plays in that kind of position, but I'll be completely honest. If it's the same team that pitched up last week in the second half, I see a 30-point game for the All Blacks. The All Blacks were disappointed in their performance in the first half, and they generally that kind of team that they'll go back to the drawing board, figure out a few things, and they'll improve on that performance. So unless the Wallabies play the game of their life, they haven't won a game at Eden Park in 32 years. I don't think New Zealand have lost a game in Eden Park since '96. I think that's a long time. It's over 20 years that haven't lost a game at Eden Park. So I think everything's in the writing for the wall that New Zealand are going to win the Bledisloe Cup again this year. But something really special has to happen from the Wallaby side to be able to compete with the All Blacks this weekend. I've been reading that there's been a lot of talk about getting rid of Cheika, but who's the alternative? You know, they can't really bring in another coach at... just hold on a second. Yeah, that looks very, very nice. They obviously can't bring in another coach this close to the World Cup. I think it's less than a year to the World Cup. So they've obviously been a very, very similar kind of situation to where Argentina and South Africa face themselves at the moment. That three Southern Hemisphere sides with new coaches. I just don't see it happening. But yeah, something's wrong in the Cheika camp. I've always liked Cheika as as a coach. I think he's got the skills, but maybe I don't think he has the support around him, and he's very, very quickly going to lose the buy-in from the board. But what are the alternatives? I don't see any alternatives for Australia at the moment. They're just this close to the World Cup. They just cannot get rid of Checker. But yeah, I'm hoping it's a closer game, and then I'm wrong. That it's not such a huge big blown out score. But I just have a feeling that it's just going to be a hiding. And I'm sorry to all my Australian subscribers, and I don't mean it as any disrespect to Australia. I think Australia have the players. I look at Pocock, Beale, Israel Folau. The two props are amazing. I think Coleman is on the rise. I think he's still got a long way to go. If they can find a position for Hodge that where he can stay. But yeah, I think they have the players. I think they're lacking a little bit of depth. There's something wrong with at the coaching level, and I know a lot of people are coming out and they've got the support and they're supporting the coach, but something drastically needs to change, and they're going to have to bring in someone. I know England have brought in John Mitchell, stuff you John Mitchell, for leaving the Bulls, but somebody either on attack or defence or conditioning, but they need to bring in some kind of fresh thinking to be able to compete. Because, look, I think they're still going to do fairly well against the Springboks and Los Pumas, but if they get their confidence knocked again by the All Blacks, it's going to be another 4 or 5 years before they bounce back. And I was watching the breakdown last night, and then obviously the four All Blacks talking about how special the Bledisloe Cup was, and when they won it. I think they haven't lost it since 2003. How special it is. How wonderful it is to have that trophy, and it's the biggest trophy in the world, and it's older than the Webb Ellis Trophy. So there's a lot of history behind it, and I just hope that Australia can bounce back. But saying that, I still think it's the All Blacks are going to take it. The All Blacks have so much depth, even past their match day 23. I'm talking their top 40, 50 players in the world are world class. Their third, fourth choice fly half any country would love to have. So yeah, that's my predictions for the weekend. Guys, just put your prediction down on the comments down below if you think that the Wallabies can bounce back. Personally, I don't think they can. I think it's going to be a huge big blowout of a game. But yeah, put your comments down below. Please like the video, please share it. And here's hoping that there's no red cards, yellow cards, and there's huge big controversy on the weekend. Listen guys, I hope you have a great day. Chat soon. Bye.